And I find it kind of funny, I find it kind of sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I've ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very mad world. Mad world.
I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Lamb of God Grace from the album Wrath. That's interesting, Wrath and Grace.
This is on our Sundown Week.
Sundown Week, Darker Side of Life, mental health, all that jazz. For timely topical political comment, speaking of mental health, for timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori. This is an entire week brought to you by the big homie Steve. I'm not going to tell you how to get an entire week. But if you'd like a song delivered to you, dear listener, $125 at the gate gets you straight in on PayPal, VinandSoriMerch@gmail.com. Keep in mind you're watching this right now because we are on Ma and paternity leave. I just figured it out. Ma, M-A, Pa, P-A, Ma and Pa. Anyway, there you go. That's your etymological thing for the day. Ma and Pa came from maternity and paternity. Did you know that? My children. Okay, so we're looking at the darker side of life. We're looking at mental health issues, yada, yada, yada. So this should be very muy interesante.
Okay.
Grace, Lamb of God, let's go. Oh, I know this song.
It's beautiful.
guys, you know what's crazy? Like, honestly, these guys have so much influence on the way that I play.
Oh, really?
Like, they're the most influent. Like, if you the bridge to get from the verse to the chorus of our song was inspired by this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you know where it goes. Yeah, like he goes so fast. You go so fast, and then you just do an open chord a bunch of times, like very quickly. It's a very cheap way to like, but you got to do a lot of cool stuff beforehand, which is why I attempt.
Well, you did. I think you
But
did.
holy moly, this guy.
Steve, I'm messaging you right now.
Guitar.
By the time you get that, you will have already answered.
I think it's Morton is the guy's name. Like, guitar wise, the guy is he's just a badass. He's really, 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 really.
Yeah, and I loved what they did at the beginning.
Yeah, and then he's you know, and then he did
Not
solo.
ready for that transition.
Then he did that solo. Dun, dun, dun. Like, yeah, there's a dubstep version of that intro that I listen to a
It
lot.
like slapped me in the face when it like started. Like sometimes like I'm ready for the transition to happen, but not on this one. I was not. I was like just feeling all that. And, well, I was like, whoa, okay. Yep. Lyrics.
Yeah.
Oh, broken bones in the will.
Somebody's got daddy issues, huh?
In this one?
Are you serious?
I wasn't listening to the lyrics. I was just going with the.
Yeah, because he says, "Forgiving the father, read the story on the skin. I'll be the martyr, falling from this grace again." And then he talks about forgiving the father, read the story on my skin. Tell me more about the man I should have been. So it looks to me like one of those situations where the son can never live up to the dad's expectations.
Ugh, that's not fun.
So then it's falling from his grace again.
That's sad.
Which is, he's never able to, measure up to his dad's, exacting principles or whatnot.
Soaking pain is a thrill, hate to instill compassion in the cage.
Which I've never had that, experience because I didn't grow up with my dad. So, the relationship was always like, like at the ground floor, because, I didn't grow up with him, so I never had. And my dad I talked to my dad like once a year. There was like a stretch where I was talking to him for like once a year. He'd call him my birthday, and he's always saying like positive stuff. Like
well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I don't know. Whenever you talk to him now, I always feel like he's like, I don't know. Maybe you could do no wrong.
Well, because the nature, anytime that fathers and sons are separated and then they're trying to like restart the relationship, like there's always that like, I don't want to mess this up type of. So that's the type of energy that my dad has with me right now. But I mean, he doesn't really know me that well, so like he could, he could say I don't like this, I don't like that. I'm sure if he saw the channel, like he would not appreciate the language. That's for sure.
No. Oh, I hope he doesn't see it. That's so funny.
That's honestly the main reason that I do not release that rap song that I have. Like that song,
Really? Yeah.
That he's the main reason.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because I don't want to put him in a situation where like he has to ignore something that he wants to call out because and he doesn't realize like I could put this up. If I put it up, he'd be like, yo, blah blah blah. Like I wouldn't be offended. I'm like, you're right, Pop. I'm still leaving it up though. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, just put it up and front load it.
But he doesn't know. He doesn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't.
Look, I put this song. I know that you don't agree with this, and this.
And he didn't.
And I want you on it.
He didn't come up with me. You know what I'm saying? So there was stuff that was going on when I was in New York. Like my mom didn't. Like nobody knew. My brother went to the same school as me. He didn't know. The stuff that I was into and whatever. So if that song comes out and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like, what? What happened when you were 40? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would just be a bad situation. I don't want to have those conversations about what happened when I was 14.
Okay. All right.
It was like 10, 20 years ago, bro. Like, no sweat. But, So, yeah. So
Patreon.
So that's why, like, Like he doesn't understand like that whole side of me. And so it's not that I would disappoint him. Like I don't feel bad about disappointing him. I just don't want him in an awkward situation with me, or him having to like compromise his principles because he's trying to work on our very, you know, in his mind, fragile relationship. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
if my mom would have saw the song, like it just would have depended on the day. You know what I'm saying? Like if my mom would have saw the song, she'd have been like, Rockstone, go on, Vincent, go on. Enough respect, boom, boom, hot fire, bun. You know, like she'd have been like, no, Vincent, I didn't teach you to do that.
I didn't teach you to do that.
It just depends. But yeah, so I never had the whole like, oh, I can't measure up to my dad.
Like, if your mom was still around, like, is there anything that you could do now that she would that you think she could smack you for? Like, would she do that, or does she feel like you're a man now? So that
if I had some sort of issue with you, or she thought like I did you dirty or something, like she'd hit you for sure. For sure.
She would.
100%.
That's so weird.
100%. Everything else, I think she would have just, you know. But like, yeah, she would have been a big fan of you, and she would have wanted to make sure that we stayed together forever. So like, if I ever did anything to like whatever, like she would get at me for sure. For sure. Yeah, but I do think like it's a big thing about sons. Like here's that scripture. It's like fathers don't provoke your children to wrath.
Yeah.
And when I look at musicians, like I came up in hip hop, it's almost univocal. Like every song's about your mom. Like Eminem was really the first dude that came out and said some crazy shit about his mother. You know what I'm saying? But before that, it was always like, you know, Dear Mama and all this stuff about your mom and whatever. And there was always no love for the father, you know, because he was absent. Shout out to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But it just seems to me a lot of people are walking around with like father wounds. And I kind of had it, but you know, it wasn't until I became a dad to where I was able to look at and there's there were salient points of information that my mother, God bless her, but left out that I didn't find out about till I was 16, 17 years old. I was like, word, mom, like, and I don't think I want to ever say it publicly because, you know, it's my mom's whatever, but. And then I really, really began to understand stuff when I became a dad myself and I went through a divorce and all that, and you know, then it was like, okay, like,
yes,
I'm good. I'm good. Like we're good. Like,
yeah.
But he doesn't know that.
Sometimes the kids have like their judgments, you know, their judgments of.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm like, you just wait and see what it is. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah.
Yeah, but
only spent 5 hours with us today. Like, what? The average kid is getting, like, under an hour.
But it's a big... I was watching this thing, I think it was Focus on the Family or something. It was like, you know, it's a very important thing for a father to tell their kid they're proud of them and all this. And like I said, I didn't grow up with it. But I think... So it wasn't a value to me. But I do think it would have been a value if I had a dad that was exacting and whatever. If I grew up in that context, then I would have been like... Then it probably would have been important to me.
Yep.
You know, like my older brother was my, like, kind of filled that position. I remember one time we were playing baseball and it was this team that we were better than. Like to this day, I will always say that we're better than them, but they, you know, for whatever reason, they'd always have these bloop things and they beat us. So there was this one kid and then there was a scouting report on him, which is ridiculous because we were kids, but was that the guy hit like 2 home runs in the game before. So I lined up deep. I was in center. So I lined up deep because he had hit this home run. I'm ready to climb over the fence. This freaking guy hits the ball in the air, stays in the air for a million minutes. I'm checking it, and I'm trying to find the trajectory of the ball because it's a night game. And I start to see the thing go out, and I was way too deep, so I start like breaking for it. You got the glove on, you run up. So I didn't get the catch, but the ball bounced basically in my hand, and I rifled it home, and we didn't make it in time. We lost the game. Like that was the game, and so I was like, ah. And And like I was pissed, and people knew like don't talk to him, whatever. So I'm in the car and I'm so angry. I'm not talking. I was one of these people that cried when we lost. Like I was
did?
No, I wasn't that type of person. Like I was just mad. I was just pissed
gonna
off.
be like, oh, that's where Dorian gets that from.
Yeah, I was just like pissed off. Like I wanted to hurt somebody, but like it's like you lost, bro. But so I'm in the car and I'm angry, and my mom was like, "Oh, Vincent, you knocked the ball." You know, like I went like 3 for 4 in the game or whatever. Mm-hmm. And my brother like looks over, and he goes, "Man, you were trucking it. The kid just got lucky." And like,
who said that?
My older brother. He was like, "You were trucking it. The kid just got lucky. Like you're Deion Sanders out there." And that was it. I was good. I was good. So it's my older brother, you know? So, like, I never had that with my dad. Like, I never had that type of situation. But my older brother kind of, and he wasn't, like, he was always, like, trying to, because I was a black sheep of the family, so he was always trying to find ways to, like, encourage me or whatever.
Oh, that's cute.
So, sport, you know, taekwondo and all this stuff, like, he would make a really, really big deal out of it, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But my mom made a big deal about taekwondo, too. I sidekicked this dude into the crowd, like he went flying, and my mom was completely uncivilized. She was what? Still, she was laughing at the kid.
At the kid?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, the kid was like really big though. You know that like awkward age when people start hitting their growth spurts or whatever, but then you have other kids who haven't. I obviously hadn't. You know what I'm saying? But I sidekicked boy. He went. Phew. Yeah. So she was like, oh, she like laughed at the kid through the whole thing. Just mad, just obnoxious. And the parent was like, would you be quiet?
She would have been good on that show.
And my mom was like, you go ahead and make me be quiet? I told you to. She basically said, I'll
throw you like, yeah,
I'll sit you right next to you. You better shut the hell up. Yeah, my mom was the worst. She was the worst, man. She was the worst. I told the kid, you know, because he had to do a little handshake or whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. You know what I'm saying? But so I never had that type of situation. So So I don't know. But you that's kind of like the theme in your life, though, isn't it? To some degree. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Mental Health Week, so.
Yeah, I mean, I never felt like I could get into my father's good graces. Like, if I did the right things, like, I knew that would make him happy. But just like overall, I started feeling like, wait a minute, I have to be or do something to get my father's approval. It's not just me. Like, he doesn't just love me for me. And especially, the more me that I am, the less he disapproves. So, but it took me a while to actually realize that was, like, a problem. I remember when I was a kid, like, I always, like, really wanted that, like, daddy's little girl relationship where daddy was, like, you call him daddy, and he like, I don't know, like kind of dotes on you and stuff, and it wasn't like that. And so I remember I was like 12 years old, and I went to Walmart, and I had been working, so I like saved up my money, and I bought this little necklace that I actually would have wanted my dad to buy for me, but it said daddy's little girl on it, and I'm like, well, if I buy it and then I show it to him, he'll probably be proud that I feel like that, even though I didn't completely feel like that. It was more of something that I wanted. And so I showed him it, and I don't really remember his reaction, but it wasn't really like, it was really awkward and uncomfortable, and I wished that I hadn't gotten it because I felt like I wasted my money because it wasn't a moment like I was hoping that it would be. And then it just seemed like, throughout my childhood, it was always, well, not so much when I was younger, but like especially into my teen years, and then beyond, I always felt like it was like kind of trying to be a certain way for him. And I mean, the college that I picked was, for my dad, really. And I wouldn't have stayed at the college, I don't think, but my father was super proud of me. Like, that was like consistently the longest amount of time where I just felt just approval from my dad. But I wasn't myself. I didn't act like myself. Like, we just acted like nicer people and, talked calmer, and like, it wasn't like authentic Sori. So that was kind of, difficult. And it's actually hasn't gotten easier. It's gotten harder as I've gotten older. And I'm not really sure why that is. I don't know if it's because, like, the older you get, the more you realize that, like, time is, like, coming short. And then you realize, wait, like, he may live and die and I may never find that with him. Which is sad. But, I don't know. I think that it does affect my thinking or feelings about things, and there's just like sometimes I'll see how like you are with the kids or with the girls and stuff, and I'm like, man, these kids are so lucky, like they don't even get it, because they'll like do something and you'll like celebrate it and stuff, and I'm like, and even if it's not just like, oh, they're doing something good and so there's like a celebration for them, but even when they do something that's wrong, it's like you talk to them and like you see where they're coming from. Like something doesn't always have to be. I wrote this poem one time when I was a teenager, and it was basically about this girl that like she tells a lie, and because she tells her parents that she's going to her friend's house or something like that, but instead she goes to a party, and then she ends up drinking, and while she's drinking at the party she ends up having sex with this guy, and turned out that he had AIDS, which she didn't know about, and she ends up finding out, like, basically at the end of the poem, she's dying, and she realizes that, like, literally she died over a lie. Like, if she had told her parents initially where she was going, they wouldn't have let her go. And, so that was... I read the poem, and I was really proud of the way that the poetry came together. Like, it just kind of flowed, and I really liked it, and I thought that the story was compelling because it was, like, a precautionary tale, but I didn't know anything about precautionary tale writing at that time. So, I remember reading it to my dad, and he was angry with me for writing the poem and for even having, like, those thoughts. And I was like, it was a totally, like, if I thought that there would have been a negative reaction, it would have been that I would have thought that he wouldn't have liked it, but I never thought he would have gotten angry. And so that was pretty hurtful too, because it was like art, and then it was like really like, because when you write a poem or you make a song or you do different stuff like that, like you're putting out like a vulnerable side of yourself, because it's something deeper that's not so surfacey. And I had put a lot of thought and stuff into that poem, and it kind of just started flowing, and so I was really excited about it. I don't know where it is now. It actually used to be in that box of stuff that I had in the basement, but I don't know if it's still there. But anyway, so it was just like things like that throughout the years, and it kind of probably sounds like minor, like my father didn't like beat me up and stuff. I mean, we definitely got spanked, that was a thing, but it wasn't like, you know, but I think that not being able to connect with him for year after year after year after year just had a negative effect, and it, you know, it still does. So
yeah, I mean, the song is interesting because, you know, falling from grace is obviously that's a religious term. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the craziest things about being a parent. I remember, you know, especially Dorian, the first time I held him, it's like, you know, God's called a father, and a lot of times people associate God with their experience with their father. So that's like a really big, and, you know, we talk about a lot, you know, parenting philosophy, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to parent them the way God parents, you know.
yeah,
Like, you look at Cain and Abel, and he knows Cain is an evil bastard, but he's like, hey man, what's going on? Where's your brother? Like,
yeah,
trying to create relationship, trying to give him a chance to you know,
yeah,
tell on himself basically, and without having it, you know. And so like, but that not having an experience where you have a dad that you can never please, like I felt like I was like behind the eight ball, because I was like, well, I don't want to make my kids feel like that, because I listen to other people and I hear when they talk about that, and I'm like, okay, like I never want to make my kids feel like that, but at the same time, like, you know, you got to have standards and things like that, which again, when you're a kid, it's like self-explanatory, like how could you do this? But when you're an adult, it's a very, very difficult balance. And if you are not purposeful about it, you will screw it up one way or the other. Because it was in, you know, there's that passage of Ephesians 5, fathers don't provoke your children to wrath. And so, like, there's a stereotypical way that you can do that. But I remember listening to a sermon or a talk about that passage one time. And actually, that was those basement tapes with Sproul Jr.
Oh, yeah.
And he was saying that neglecting your children is also a means of provoking your children to anger.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously the one is the David with Absalom, where this guy David's got basically this blended family, and one of his
David and Goliath, that David.
This is a Bible guy, right?
Yeah.
One of his sons raped his half sister, and so then Absalom is the full blood brother to this girl who got raped by his half brother. It goes up to David. David goes, tough rape. He does nothing. So Absalom waits basically for 2 years, invites all of his brothers and his half brothers to this big feast, and then he invites his dad to the feast. And David's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm not gonna go." And then Absalom just like, you know, kills this guy, killed the dude that raped his sister in front of everybody. And I remember just reading that story because like I didn't know who the bad guys were. So apparently Absalom's a bad guy, but I was like, yeah, good, get down there, get him.
Oh my god.
So obviously he has to flee. But it was like before he fled, David's basically right-hand man, I think it was Joab or something, Absalom sent one of his guys and like set fire to his entire field. That's after he came back.
Yeah.
And Joab goes, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "Hey, I've been here for whatever. I haven't seen my dad. Like, you know, do I have your attention now?" So like he gets a, you know, meeting with his dad finally, and his dad's like, "Hey, how you doing? Everything good? All right, you know, whatever." And then it says, you know, David was like, "All right, good for you, man, whatever." And that's when the relationship was over, because David wouldn't address anything, he wouldn't deal with anything, and then Absalom just went crazy on him. So like, listening to that and listening to what the guys were saying about that, like that's where I got all my like parenting, like, okay, we got to address issues. You know, like he shouldn't have killed his brother, but at the same time, you've got to be an active parent. David was just like outsourcing everything to everybody. So I didn't have a dad, so that was my paradigm. Like, okay, I got to it's not enough to just like have them in your space. Like you got to talk to them if there's issues. They got to be brought up. And sometimes you can be wrong as a parent because like David was dead wrong. He should have done something. So all those things formulated, like, but it's harder to parent that way. It's so much easier to go, "I'm the parent, that's it." Like, it's a lot harder, but you know, you got to do that, man. Your kids they remember all that shit. You know, so it's a hard job, and if you're not really intentional about it, you are going to become the person, the father that you don't want to be.
Yeah. It's crazy too, because like I have these moments that I think about that are super hurtful, and probably my father doesn't even remember them. You know what I mean? Like,
almost. So
I'm like, I think about the kids, and I'm like, how many moments are they gonna have that I'm not even gonna remember?
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, that was really hurtful.
Yeah. And so I'm a big, you know, unprovoked affection guy. Just random hugs, kisses, random I love yous that have nothing to do with anything. You know, I just think that's very, very important. You know, and then obviously as a Christian, you just pray that you don't give the devil enough fodder to create self-destruction in your kids. But it's a good song. It's a deep song. Hopefully him and his dad are square, whatever that is. It's a weird thing. Like, you're a rock star, you're very, very successful, but, you know, it's not enough. You know what I'm saying? For whatever reason, it's just not enough for some people. So shout out to the homies. Shout out to everybody who's got those daddy issues for us all. What do you give it?
9.2.
It's a 9.4 for me. Really, really, really good song. Very important subject matter, and we got a jihad out there. So, Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
I'll